Welcome dreamers. Ready to relax and unwind? Get comfy and let our soft night tales take you to magical places. Enjoy.
Have you ever felt that you were meant for something more? That in a world so vast, there was a hidden path, a secret purpose just waiting to be discovered? Now imagine you're in a city that pulses with ancient magic, yet, you're the only one who doesn't understand how to tap into it. That's exactly where Aelis finds herself, lost in a city full of wonders, yet unable to connect with anything around her. Aelis had always known she was different. Nithril, the city that never slept, was a place of mystery and power. Here, magic was part of everyday life. The markets shimmered with enchanted goods, the streets were filled with whispers of forgotten spells, and the air itself seemed to hum with energy. Yet, for all its grandeur, Aelis felt like an outsider. Her magic was unlike the flashy spells of the mages or the grand gestures of the wizards. It was soft, almost like a whisper in the back of her mind. She couldn't command fire, bend shadows, or speak to the winds like others in the city. No, her magic was different. And no matter how many times she wandered the city's labyrinth of streets, visiting its grand halls and ancient libraries, she couldn't figure out where her magic fit. Every night, as the glowing city stretched beneath the stars, Aelis wondered, is there more for me here? Or am I just meant to drift quietly in the background, never truly understood? But tonight, something felt different. Tonight, Aelis would walk down a path she hadn't even known existed. Nithril was a city built on magic. The towering spires of the Grand Academy gleamed in the distance, and the great mage guilds presided over its many districts. The air itself was thick with enchantments, from the shimmering lights that lit the streets to the gentle breeze that seemed to carry the scent of magic wherever it went. But Aelis had always felt disconnected from all of it. The others seemed so sure of themselves. They knew exactly what their magic was for, summoning rain to water the crops, shaping stone into statues, or weaving powerful illusions to entertain the city's elite. Aelis could never do any of these things. Her magic came and went like a breeze she couldn't catch. It was subtle, quiet. It didn't obey her commands. She couldn't even control it. She had tried to visit the Grand Academy, hoping that perhaps some wise professor could teach her to control the energy inside her. But every time, she was turned away. Her magic wasn't important enough for their attention. Maybe you should try the Guild of Enchanters, one of the headmasters had suggested once. Their magic is gentler, like yours. But that, too, had yielded no results. The enchanters had their own way of doing things, grand and ornate, and they didn't have time for someone whose magic was as soft and quiet as Aelis was. Aelis had begun to feel as though she was walking in circles, trapped in a city full of magic, but unable to find a way to make it her own. But that night, walking down one of the quieter districts of the city, her pendant, a gift from an elderly woman she'd met once in a small, hidden shop, began to glow faintly. It was the first time it had done so in years. Aelis was wandering the Hollow District, the forgotten side of Nithril, a place most citizens dared not venture. Here, the streets were narrow, and the buildings were made of stone that had long since been covered in ivy and creeping moss. The magical aura of the city seemed to fade here, replaced by a strange, almost forgotten silence. The air was thick, and the only sound was the soft rustle of the leaves and the occasional distant clink of a hammer. She had been in this part of the city before, but never this deep. This was a place where the streets seemed to curve in on themselves, and the buildings seemed almost alive, like they had grown from the earth itself. It was unlike any part of the city she had ever explored, untouched, unkempt, and strangely inviting. The glow of her pendant grew brighter, and Aelis felt a pull in her chest, guiding her further down the forgotten path. The streets here were lined with odd shops, their windows filled with strange items, crystals that glowed with soft light, ancient tomes that seemed to whisper in languages Aelis couldn't understand, and dried herbs that filled the air with their pungent scents. She found herself drawn to a small, tucked-away shop at the end of the street. The door was made of thick oak, and above it, a sign hung with the simple words, "The Silent Weaver." The moment Aelis stepped inside, the scent of incense and dust filled her nose. The shop was dimly lit, with rows of shelves filled with mysterious objects. There were no ordinary goods here, only rare, enchanted trinkets, objects pulsing with energy that Aelis couldn't quite understand. Behind the counter sat an elderly woman, her sharp blue eyes watching Aelis carefully. Her silver hair was pulled back into a tight bun, and her robes were simple but elegant, as though they had been made long ago. She looked up as Aelis entered, and her lips curled into a knowing smile. "You're looking for something," the woman said, her voice like a soft murmur. "But I think you already know that." Aelis hesitated but nodded. I don't know what I'm looking for. I just know that I'm different. My magic. It doesn't work like anyone else's. It doesn't make sense. It's not loud, like theirs. It's quiet. And no one seems to understand it." The old woman raised an eyebrow, studying Aelis carefully. "Your magic is quiet, yes. But perhaps that's not a weakness. Perhaps it's your strength." Aelis blinked. "My strength?" The shopkeeper smiled again, her eyes twinkling with a secret. "Not all magic is meant to be seen, young one. Some magic works in silence, behind the scenes. You don't need to control it, it's already flowing through you, you just have to listen." Aelis frowned, confused. "How do I listen?" The woman reached beneath the counter and pulled out a small, glowing pendant, much like the one Aelis had. "Take this. It will guide you," she said simply. "But you must trust it. Trust that your magic has a purpose, even if you cannot see it yet." With the pendant now resting around her neck, Aelis felt an unfamiliar sense of calm settle over her. She wasn't sure what to expect, but for the first time in years, she felt like she was walking in the right direction. The pendant's glow became brighter as she wandered deeper into the hollow district, its light now a soft beacon in the dim streets. As she turned a corner, Aelis found herself standing in front of a massive stone structure. It was unlike anything else in Nithril, an ancient temple, its surface covered with markings so old that they had almost faded into the stone. The air around it was thick with energy, and Aelis could feel the soft hum of magic flowing from the building. She stepped forward, her heart racing. She didn't know why, but the temple called to her. The pendant grew warmer against her chest as she approached, its light flickering like a heartbeat. Inside, the temple was dimly lit by candles, their flames flickering as if alive. The walls were lined with carvings of strange symbols she could almost recognize, but not quite. It was as though the answers she sought were just out of her reach, hidden beneath layers of forgotten history. At the center of the room stood a massive stone pillar, its surface covered in glowing runes. Aelis reached out, her fingers trembling as she brushed against it. The moment she touched it, a surge of energy shot through her. It wasn't painful, but it was powerful, like a rush of wind against her skin. Suddenly, a voice echoed in her mind, as soft as a whisper in the wind. "You have always been part of this world, Aelis. Your magic is not meant to be controlled. It is a thread that connects you to the world around you. You must learn to listen. Your purpose lies in the quiet." Aelis gasped, her heart pounding. She understood now, her magic wasn't a burden. It wasn't something to fight against. It was a connection, a quiet bond that tied her to the very land beneath her feet. It was always there, waiting for her to discover it. As Aelis left the temple, the city of Nithril felt different. The streets no longer seemed overwhelming, and the people no longer seemed so distant. She had found her place, not in the loud displays of magic that filled the grand academy, but in the quiet, hidden corners of the world where the pulse of the earth could be felt beneath her feet. Her magic was no longer something she had to control. It was part of her, part of the land, part of the very rhythm of life. She could feel it now, flowing through her with a quiet strength, guiding her wherever she needed to go. And as she walked through Nithril, the pendant resting gently against her chest, Aelis knew that she had found her true purpose, one that was quiet, yet powerful, and all her own. If you enjoyed Aelis' journey of discovery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more peaceful tales that help you unwind. Sweet dreams and take care.